Criminal Justice Public Safety Committee to order at 13 minutes after 10. We have a quorum. First order of business is a motion to approve minutes of prior committee meetings. Moved by Supervisor Bramer, seconded by Supervisor Wild. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. First on the agenda is Warren County Assigned Counsel. Joy,
Good morning.
the floor is yours.
Morning. See if I can break my own speed record today?
Driving here or?
No, that I can do all the time. This is simply to amend resolutions so that the chairman of the board can sign off on grant issues for minor modifications and adjustments. It's the last resolution that needed to have specific language in it to do so.
Okay, and this is in regards to the oils?
Correct.
Okay. Bring that to the floor. Supervisor Bramer. A second by Supervisor McGowan. Any discussion on this? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries.
Thank you. Have a nice
Thank you,
day.
Joy.
Bye, Joy.
Good seeing you. Next on the agenda is District Attorney. Welcome, Jason. The floor is yours.
There's a couple things on. The first thing that I wanted to talk about was the on-call pay. I think most of the people here were here last year when Resolution 294 passed to allow us to cover all weekends and holidays, so 114 days. Unfortunately, when it went through budget, it didn't land in the right place, so the money didn't go where it was supposed to be. Paulette's going to have extra for you. Paulette actually found it maybe a month ago, and I spoke to you. I talked to Treasurer, and the suggestion was it would need to come from either contingency or surplus. That would be a decision someone else would make. The total figure, if you count all that, including fringe, is $33,832. When I talked to Swan, he indicated that yesterday there was $245,800 in contingency funds at the time. Just so you're aware, we're already cut. We've been doing that since January 1. We're covering all of those and presumably continue.
So it was appropriated correctly. There was not funding in the revenue code.
I think something happened during the budget process that, to be frank with you, I don't completely understand, and it got missed. And I think I know why it did, and we actually have a solution going forward. If you look inside your packet, there's Form 11, and I thank Amanda for that, helping us with that. The suggestion was made that put it into salary code so it can't get missed. And I think that's what happened. It wasn't in a salary code, and it got missed. So if you look at the resolution, Form 11 actually creates that code. And then number 2 on this 3 actually just lays out that expenditure and spreading it amongst those things. So the regular salary and then the fringe is breaking it down. And that's where that total figure comes from.
Okay, so the first action is to create an on-call pay line.
Correct.
Motion to bring that to the floor?
Yeah, I was going to move all three. Are all three the same thing, essentially?
So 3.
Doing the same action?
3 is something different. 3
Oh,
is
okay.
related to the OVS grant.
Okay.
You want me to go?
So just 1 and 2?
Just 1 and 2.
Okay, motion to bring action items 1 and 2 to the floor, seconded by Supervisor McGowan. Further discussion. And this is requesting to come out of contingent?
Yes, but there's also the option for others to decide if they wanted to make it come out of surplus. My recommendation would be.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Upon recommendation of the treasurer, is there any other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries.
When you go down on that cover page to 3, this is related to our OVS grant. As you'll recall, there is a part-time position that was created and it's been filled. But the salary money is in the salary code, regular salary, and it needs to be in part-time salary. So we're just asking to move it from the regular salary code into the part-time salary and then distribute that fringe. I believe Rob Lynch gave us those numbers. There's actually a surplus. So if you look at the very bottom, you'll see travel, education, conference. We're looking to take that surplus and put it into a usable code, a 400 code, in this case travel education conference. And then from there, I don't think we're going to need it in there in total, so it could get moved. And the way this one works is this grant money, if you don't use it's only, if you use it, then you submit and they send the money. So it's not a pot of money sitting there, I don't believe. And all of this is just 100% grant funded. It's just sitting in regular salary, and we're looking to disperse it under those lines that you see on that cover page, and I think it's Resolution 10. Further, the second Resolution 10 is right on your last page.
Okay.
I'll move this.
Okay, moved by Supervisor Bramer, seconded by Supervisor Wild. Any further discussion on this? And did you say this is reimbursable?
So this is 100% grant funded. The way the grant worked last year is they sent all the money to the county, as I understand it,
Mhm.
and then you would use it. Here, they hold the money, and then as it's used, you submit vouchers or something along those lines. So that money's all there. We have it. It's just the process has changed from last year.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. All right, call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. Any other discussion? No.
Hey, hello.
Bye,
Thank you, Jay.
Jason.
Next on the agenda is Public Defender.
Thank you.
Marcy, you have the floor.
Thank you. I have 4 resolutions for you, all dealing with fully funded oils contract. The first one, we had spent the money on the first one, but the purchase order isn't in yet, and then the contract expired, so that's the reason for the first one, so we can pay for the books. The second one deals with oils money. The next 3, 2, 3, and 4, and on December 31st of this year, I'm asking in advance the permission to extend them into next year so that we continue using the money and we don't have any lag pay. Distribution number 5 deals with after-hours arraignments, attorney retention, fringe for one of the attorneys and the secretary, continuing legal education, internet fees, and upgrade to computers. Oils number 6 deals with the salary for my confidential secretary who handles all the grants. And the last one is Upstate Quality, which is a salary for the 6th assistant public defender and for that person's training. So
Okay.
I thought I would give them all to you at once.
Thank you. Can we bring them all to the floor at once?
I'll bring all 4.
Supervisor Bramer, all 4 items. Is there a second? Supervisor McGowan. Any other discussion on Supervisor Bramer?
Thank you, Marcy, for bringing these to us before the last minute.
No problem, thank you.
No, we're only in June. So good. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries.
Okay. Last thing I have is under discussion. I want to just add one thing. You allowed me to backfill people when I had a resignation. I've done that. I've made an offer to someone. They indicate they'll start the week of July 9th. I don't have the exact start date,
Is it-
so that's going to be position number 6. So I just want to give you the good news. That worked out great. Really happy about that. And under discussion, my 5th assistant public defender has indicated to me that he's going to be resigning. I think my office, as you know, has a lot of strain and a large volume of caseload, and it doesn't work for everybody. And so at probably the next meeting, I'll be requesting to fill. I have been in negotiations, preliminary, with an attorney with experience who is interested in coming into my office in the future, so I'm very happy. So I just wanted to give you some happy news. Even though it's a potential resignation, it's all good.
Good.
Okay?
Thank you, Marcy.
Thank you, and that's it.
Bye, Marcy.
Thanks.
Next on the agenda is the Warren County Office for Emergency Services. Ryan, you have the floor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a very easy one. Our first resolution request is to update or amend Resolution 203 of this year. We had to change one of the members of our Fire Advisory Board, and as you know, all the Fire Advisory Board members are vetted through this, through the board. So, due to a change in the leadership up in Lake George, We're replacing Chief Berry with Chief Ellis from Luzerne.
Motion to bring that to the floor by Supervisor Simpson, second by Supervisor McGowan. You support this recommendation?
Pardon?
You support this recommendation?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none? All those...
Just a-
Oh, yes.
It's just a point of clarification, but Chief Berry is still on this resolution?
No,
Center package?
that's the one we already approved earlier this year.
Oh, okay. On 203, yeah, that's the one we're amending. Right.
That's the one we're amending.
Okay. Thanks.
So the amendment will have Chief Berry removed and Ellis will be... Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries.
Our next item is a pending item relative to researching the Scroon River gauge, and I'll ask Amy to come up. She's been the one researching that. Amy's back from her little vacation, and we appreciate her being here.
So a few months ago, I came to this board and we were talking about, and you guys approved, continuing to fund the Scroon River USGS river gauge. And in that conversation, Supervisor Simpson, Supervisor Leggett brought up, they had conversations with him as well in regards to the dam up at the Scroon River area. So did some research on different types of equipment that is out there. Considering the dam that you guys have, it would be fairly easy because you have electricity. Cell service isn't absolutely horrible up there. It's kind of a little spotty, but it's not horrible. You could probably get some cameras up there for a few $100. Put them up there, get some solar power energy for $100 or so, and be able to view it that way. You could record the information on the iCloud if you were concerned about vandalism. It all depends on what you're looking to get out of it. Usually when you're looking at dams, you're looking to see vandalism, you're looking to see the maintenance, if there's something wrong with it. And that would be an excellent way to quickly and easily, cost-effectively do something. Obviously, you're going to need someone to install the stuff, you're going to need maintenance on it, and stuff happens. Going down further stream to the USGS river gauge. Totally different setup there. There you're talking about flow of water. You're talking about, the other thing. Some of this is beyond my scope a little bit. This rating curve, it's based on discharge in addition to the flow of water. They have historical data there going back as far as 1913, as far as the river, and that's how they come up with these predictions. They also, so if you go on the National Weather Service's website, they'll show you the prediction for the next umpteen days, and this is what we use. We also get text messages if there's a significant change, or if it's really significant, we get a phone call. So last week, I received a phone call because apparently the town of Horicon was having one of their dams. Was it their dam or the county's dam? The county's dam?
Get that right. Warren County lowered that dam.
It was the lower dam.
Lowered the water.
Okay. But your staff knew about it. So I think it was on Saturday, the river changed 100 CFR in a matter of minutes. And so we received a phone call of what's going on. So phone call to the town of Horicon, and they were like, oh yeah, they were doing a dam inspection, so they had to divert the water. Okay, made perfect sense, but if it wasn't that, if it was something else that possibly needed our action, we get these notices. If we had cameras on there, all the camera's going to be doing is noticing that there's movement, but it's a river, so there's always movement, and you can be notified. For those of you who like hunting, a lot of people have cameras in the woods, and they sometimes get a text message. They have it set up to get a text message when there's a critter that walks in front of the camera. Well, we really don't care about moving water because it moves all the time. If it doesn't move, we probably have bigger issues on our hands. So at this point in time, the amount of technology that's in these river gauges and the amount of maintenance and stuff it wouldn't be cost effective for us to do something different. That being said, we had also mentioned the Hudson River, and there's spots in the Hudson River where we have ice jams on a regular basis. At some point in time, maybe within the next 5 years or so, with technology changing the way that it is, and if we can get a spot that, because we don't own, the county doesn't own any spots that we would like to monitor. We have calls into DOT. We haven't heard back from them yet, but DOT has some bridges across the Hudson River. If we could put something on or near their bridges so that we could have a camera there so we could view the ice jams, that would certainly be helpful to our office.
And as in the field of vision would be some sort of gauge as well, perhaps.
Yeah, there's a gauge painted on the underside of the bridge
Yeah.
on the pylons.
Yeah.
You can either do it with a stick gauge or they paint them right on. And that way there, when your camera is aimed at that, whether there's ice or whatever, we can tell how much ice or we can tell how high the water is. If we can get a spot, we would like to be able to see it at the 418 bridge. There's several things to think about. One possible solution is we have the train station, which we're powering. That's pretty close. There's some things that we might be able to look at. So these are just things we're investigating right now, but I think it would be worthwhile down the road for us to invest in that.
Right now, the Warren County Fish Hatchery, they have a camera that looks out the back part of their hatchery onto the Hudson River, and we view that frequently, especially during the ice jam time periods.
Which came pretty close to the fish hatchery this year, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Really close.
They had to pump out the basement quite a few times.
Good. And there was also discussion on the expense of down at Riverbank for monitoring that, and it was it by satellite? There was some connection. We were wondering if that was still needed.
USGS uses a satellite connection,
Mhm.
but they have their satellite system is their own. They, in other words, the uplink that they use, because they have these gauges all over the country, it's pretty well set as far as how they're doing that. Could there be a cellular connection to replace that? I'm not sure that they are set up for that, but I could certainly ask. But right now, the connection and the way it's set up appears to be the best way to do it.
Okay.
And it also depends on the locations of those gauges. The 3 gauges that we have in Warren County are not places where cell service is readily available. Whereas the 418 bridge, you can go there and you do have good cell service right there at the bridge. So
The 3 sites we have is it's by the Millington Bridge, isn't it? Riverbank, is that one of the gauges?
that's the one on the Scroon, and then on the Hudson, we have one up in North Creek, right in the middle of the town, and then
The Glen?
technically the other one is in Hadley. It's right across the river, but
Oh.
they call it Luzerne
Right.
Hadley.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Simpson?
When I had raised a question, it was more about, that gauge in that current spot is very important because of the 2 dams that are above it. I mean, it's a great spot. What I was thinking is there a way that we don't have to contract with USGS? Because what my experience so far is that they say we're going to fund it, they fund it, and then down the road, we're not going to fund it, and we've seen that. So that cost to have them do things for us, their support diminishes, and then it's on all of us. So they're gaining experience. They're getting a lot of our data at our cost. So is there it was fairly simple. I just wondered if there was a gauge or a setup that Warren County could own for its purposes that would be much less cost.
At this point
Produce
in
the
time,
same data that
it
we
wouldn't be
need.
cost effective.
We looked at that and what it costs.
That was my concern.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and spending time with their maintenance guys up there at the site, and what's involved to maintain its accuracy and to make sure that it's working properly, and there's a number of things that go under the river. There's quite a bit to it. We were concerned about that and what you do with the data. In other words, they have to take the data that comes from that gauge, run it through a program to actually give us usable information. It's not, it doesn't just say, 6 inches. there's a lot of data involved,
I
so
agree.
that's the reason we have held off on it. It's a good question, don't get me wrong.
Supervisor McGowan?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you refresh, what was the cost of that from the USGA? I remember going over it before. 24.
No.
It's 6,000 a year.
Oh,
6?
It's 6,000 in something, I don't remember the other digits.
Yeah, like I said, by the time you set something up, so much stuff goes underneath the bridge, maintaining it, I was thinking of, like say float alarms, so you could get different alarms for different heights. But then you get stuff to attaches to it, and then you get a heavy rain, and bingo, it rips it out. I mean, so by the time you build the cages and build everything to actually get all the readings that they have, I kind of agree with you in a sense, and the data that you receive is greater than the data that we could set up for the same kind of money, so.
And there's the continuing cost. Whether you use satellite or cellular, the best deal we can get on cellular data right now on state contract is $40 a month. When you put that and you have to put in power, you have to pay probably whatever the minimum fee is for a meter. Those things eventually all add up, plus somebody's got to maintain it. That's the nice thing about the one at USGS. I understand that it costs us money, but we don't ever have to worry about it. Whenever we want to look at it, or it needs to send us information or to give us an alert, it's there, because we don't have to maintain it. We don't pay the power bill. We don't touch it.
In 2011, there was significant damage in North Creek due to the ice jam up there, and they ended up having to rebuild the shed up higher on the bank and do a lot of work. We didn't have to do a thing. They did it all. So it's times like that that would be significant.
Thank you for that report. Any other things?
The only other thing that shows on our agenda here is just a review of last month's travel authorization. That's just in our travel policy. We'll let you know of travel that a member of our organization's done. I did attend the Officer Interoperable and Emergency Communications Forum in Canandaigua 2 weeks ago. Other than that, that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
Are there any questions from the supervisors? Yes,
Thank you,
Supervisor
Mr. Chairman.
Driscoll.
I appreciate getting the alerts. They're very helpful. Those go to department heads also, or?
It depends on what it is. It depends on what the alert is.
If a part of the county is going to, may lose power, would department heads get that information?
I don't believe so right now. We tend to do the supervisors because, it could be your home, in Matt's case, if the power's going to go out in Horton, he needs to know that for his, water pumping systems or whatever. We try to give that. It doesn't cost us anything. We send it to anybody we want.
Just something to think about, because I know that we certainly employ people from all municipalities, and in the event of a certain part of the county losing power, department heads and the senior staff oftentimes get calls at 6 in the morning. I haven't had power for 10 hours. I'm going to be late, or I'm not going to be in today because I've got to take care of it.
We'll consider that. It's like I say, it's a matter of what buttons we click as far as what address book that we pick. We try not to overwhelm people with information.
Right. Yeah.
Yet the other side of that is we don't want to leave anybody out. So, I probably send 4 out a day to the fire chiefs and the EMS captains, and there's a number of different ways that we point that information. Let us consider that. I think that's probably a good idea.
Okay, thanks.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Amy. Next on the agenda is Sheriff's Committee. Sean, you have the floor.
Morning.
Good morning.
On the action agenda, the first item is item A, is to amend the county budget to reflect some insurance recoveries that we have.
Supervisor Bramer.
Yep.
Supervisor Driscoll. On second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries.
Item B is request a resolution for a new contract with NEC Corporation of America. NEC maintains our administrative phone lines that we have in the sheriff's office. You will notice this contract only goes to the end of this year because the system that we have, which was purchased back in 2012, is no longer supported past the end of this year. Which brings up the next question. What do we do? Well, we have a quote to upgrade to the system that they will support, and that quote is $25,000. Now, when we got the system in 2012, Ed Bartholomew was able to get some consolidation money, grant money, when we consolidated our dispatch with Glens Falls. This time I'm going to leverage some Homeland Security grant money that we have for our PSAP and get it to pay for this as well.
And that will be all included in the 2019 budget then? Or will you be...
I'm going to pay for that this year. I'm getting the system upgraded this year.
This year?
I don't want to wait until the end of the year to do it.
Good. Supervisor McGowan brings it to the floor.
Well, no, I actually had a question. Well, we got to bring it to the floor first.
Yeah.
I'll bring it to the floor.
Okay, Supervisor Wild.
I'll second.
And a second by Supervisor McGowan. Discussion. Supervisor McGowan.
So what would be the length of the warranty of this system coming in?
They did not tell us what it would be. I can tell you, we put the system in back in 2012. It was, I believe it was around $115,000 that was spent at that time, but understand that was not only the computer servers that run the system, it was all the actual physical phones, the cabinetry, and all the stuff associated with it. The upgrade is nothing more than them going in, changing cards out of the servers or computers to upgrade to the newest system. The phones remain the same, which we have plenty of spare parts for, and it's one of the things we made sure we had when we upgraded before. But they did not say how long the warranty would go for, or how long they would support it for.
Well, I mean, as technology changes every day too, and like I said, working with some of the larger companies, I've seen a lot of that. So now that you've explained the cards and that I do see, and that it'd be great if you can get it to the grant. So.
Right. I mean, the bottom line is we cannot have a system that's not supported.
Agreed.
Supervisor Wild.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sean, you said this is an administrative phone system?
So you have...
Is this like 911, or is it?
It is all the phones within the sheriff's office. There's 911 trunk lines that feed into the sheriff's office. These are all the phones in everybody's offices throughout the whole facility. That's what we call our administrative phone lines.
This is all your phone lines plus 911?
Correct.
So is it typical that this equipment comes off of support every 5-6 years?
It's the first time it's the second time I've been involved with an upgrade for it. There typically is a lifespan for technology. I can't specifically say what it's going to be this time around though.
Okay. Thank you.
Sheriff?
Yeah, I can chime in on that. When I first became sheriff in 2008, and 3 years into my term, we were hit with it. The last administration purchased the items for the system, and we didn't know they had a shelf life. So in 2012, we were hit with this largest during the budget. After the budget process, we were called by them and said, we've got to upgrade. It's just part of the process, I guess. But it's a large expense. So that was 2012. So this now it's ready. They goes 5 or 6 years is what they go for. And I don't. If they put cards in, I don't know how these vendors work, but it's a way to keep money coming into their system. Yeah, they keep money coming into their system. And it's sad. We talked about trying to buy all this stuff, but when you try to buy it and use it yourself, it's impossible to support. It's quite a system.
Supervisor McGowan.
It's also nice too, if we own it, who do we deal with? But at least here, we can call in and, no, I've dealt with a lot with, you know, a lot of companies that have a large amount of phones, and it seems to be every 5 to 7 years, they all go through all new cards and upgrade phones, because technology keeps changing, so.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor request for a new contract with NEC Corporation of America, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carries.
Item C is request a resolution for a new contract with Capital Digitronics to install communication shelters at 2 radio tower sites. This was done through a bid process through Julie Butler. Capital Digitronics was the lowest bidder.
Okay. Motion to bring it to the floor. Supervisor Simpson, second by Supervisor McGowan. Sean, we have contracts with Capital Digitronics for various other...
We already have them now. They do all the maintenance on our radio system, so it's a benefit to us. They're already familiar with how we do business. They're familiar with our systems.
Supervisor Bramer?
Where are these shelters going?
Route 149 on Verizon's property, where we're co-locating equipment, and out behind the Stony Creek Town Hall, where we're putting a tower up. It's the buildings that physically hold all the radio equipment.
And these are new ones. 149, is that a new one?
Yes, both these will be new sites for us.
Yep. Good. Okay, motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Sean, where's the money coming from?
We have a DASNY grant for $500,000, and one of the things that's been holding us up for the final approval for that grant, the money is there, is to have a lease in place with Verizon. In order to do that, we had to go through, have a structural analysis done to make sure the tower could support our equipment. That's all finally been done, so we're on the cusp of having that lease agreement in place.
Great, okay, thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Bramer?
Thanks. Will the DASNY grant reimburse us for that structural evaluation stuff, or did we have to pay for that out of pocket?
It would come out of our pocket. It wasn't, I think it was like $3,000 or $4,000.
All right, call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries.
Item D is request a resolution for a new contract with the Lake George Central School District for law enforcement services for the 2018-2019 school year. They're requesting 2 positions for school resource officers. It'd be $60,000 for that school year.
Okay. Great. B and E?
Yes.
Okay. Motion move D and E. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Driscoll. Discussion. Supervisor McGowan and Supervisor Bramer?
Sean, is that per officer, 60,000?
No, sir, it's $30,000 per person.
30,000 per person.
Supervisor Bramer?
Thank you. Okay, does this cover their liability insurance? I saw in one of the contracts it says that like Great Escape, they were going to be providing their own liability insurance.
No, it does not cover our liability expense.
It doesn't?
No.
Annette?
This was discussed at the last committee meeting. The additional expenses are primarily going to be borne by the Sheriff's Office for this first year, and we hope to pass those on if they renew these contracts.
Okay, it was my understanding that we, like, going forward, we were going to try, not that first one, like, not Hadley Luzerne, but that going forward, we would try to get that expense covered by these school districts.
All these districts were told up front what they should budget for, and they had already done that for the most part. So you take Warrensburg Central Schools, they've already budgeted the money, but they have not yet committed to doing this. So they'd already budgeted.
It's in their school budget that passed, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, but we are going to keep looking for that next year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. And I think that's reflected in the minutes from our discussion at the last meeting,
Okay.
that this year we get reimbursed for our time, but the extra in the 2019-2020 school year, the schools would then be accommodating for that. Yep. The sheriff and then...
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, and that, and again, the undersheriff has been working with the schools. He's been tasked with that, to work with the schools and contracts, and we are protected, the county is protected in case we can't come up with each individual, hire. We're talking, we've got 2, 4, 6, we've got 10 or 12 people. We've got a pool maybe of 6 or 8 right now, so we're still waiting for those numbers to come in. But we don't want the county held responsible if we can't get the people to apply for positions. So we're protected for it.
Yeah, there's actual Hadley Luzerne was the very first contract, and that was kind of done very quickly. All contracts since then have language to protect the county if we're unable to provide a body.
Good. Thank you. Supervisor Wild and
Thank you, Mr.
Supervisor
Chairman.
Driscoll.
Yeah, just to follow up, Sean, a couple of questions. One, what's our anticipated cost to provide this liability insurance if we're able to move forward with all these contracts?
It was just under $2,500 per year per member.
Per member, so we're talking, what, $20,000 that's going to come out of your budget to kind of support this?
Correct.
Okay. All right, and then secondly, just to follow up on what Sheriff York said, I was always curious about our staffing and what we're going to do. And are we going to take away from our typical sheriff patrols and staffing to make this happen? And where are these resource officers coming from?
These are retired officers. These are not the officers that you see out on cars on an everyday basis. These are additional positions that we'd be filling with retired part-time police officers.
Also, Mike, to give you an example, Saratoga County, their board approved hiring full-time officers. So they're hiring like 12 full-time officers at $80,000 or $90,000 a year. So these people are full-time officers that are going to be assigned to the schools, and then of course when the summer months come, then out of the schools, the sheriff can use them. We're not doing that here. We're trying to get people that have already done a career, that are part of that we can consider part-time, that can do these jobs, so it doesn't affect, the benefit package.
So just, again, another follow-up. What's the likelihood that we're going to be able to find all these resources?
Well, we've got 8 now, 8 or 10.
Positions that we need to fill?
Well, no, we've got prospective candidates.
We have, at this point, we don't have enough. But we're actively seeking people.
We're a couple short. We've got a number of calls from prospective people, but they haven't pulled the trigger yet, as it were.
Okay.
And this is brand new, so.
And just to give you an example, I had a gentleman come up a week and a half ago, retired from a local sheriff's office, all gung-ho. I get a phone call on my cell phone yesterday. Thank you for our time, but he's accepted a full-time position with a local court. So.
I got a resume next week, really good candidate. He was a police officer in Colorado, and in New York State, DCGS, he has to jump through so many hoops to get certified in New York. I think it's problematic, right?
Yeah, he'd have to go through an academy.
So, but we're hopeful. We still have some people that are still working full-time right now that are considering leaving full-time in retirement to do that. So we'll see how it goes.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to be clear on a couple of things. Lake George is looking to hire 2 individuals because they've got 2 campuses.
2 buildings. Yes.
Okay. And remind me, is that the same situation in Lawrenceburg? Just one person will...
No, did they budget for 2? I think they budgeted for 2.
Warrensburg's budgeted for 2, but we haven't done anything contractually.
Okay, right, yes.
We're still working that out. North Warren has 1 building. They've asked for one. They've asked for 1 position.
Okay.
I'm in talks with the superintendent now to get that taken care of.
Supervisor Hogan, did you have your hand
No,
up?
I answered my own question, thanks.
Okay, Supervisor McGowan.
Did I see also Queensbury was thinking on jumping on board?
Yes.
Yeah, they're next up.
Yeah.
And was that 1 or 2, or one's gonna 2?
That's 2 bodies to float between 4 buildings.
Okay, we have D&E on the floor to, is that correct? Okay. No further discussion. We will then call the question to vote on items D and E. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries. Thank you.
Item F is a request an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Horicon for marine law enforcement services on Schooner Lake, something we've been doing for the last, at least 5-6 years. It's worked out very well.
Okay, motion to bring it to the floor. Supervisor Bramer, second by Supervisor McGowan. Any discussion? None? Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries.
I just have one question.
Oh,
Are you going to contract with Schooner Lake, or
They, when they signed the contract, Supervisor Simpson, it was a 3-year contract,
Oh, okay.
so we're still under contract with them.
Yeah. Thank you.
thank you. Right. Any topics for discussion?
Yes. Under topics for discussion, we currently have 6 vacancies for correction officer due to resignations and promotion. We currently have 1 correction sergeant vacancy due to a resignation. Item B, there's a correction on this. Due to the high number of Warren County inmates, we're going to lose the ability to board in federal inmates. This past Friday, our Corrections Administration was working diligently to figure out where we were going to put people. And at the time that I generated this, we were on the cusp of boarding people to Washington County. As it ends up, we had 3 males, 2 federal inmates and 1 from another county, sent back to other facilities to open up bed space in our own, so we didn't have to board out. So on the one hand, we're going to lose revenue if we don't take in these boarders. On the other hand, if we have to board people out, now we have to pay to house them someplace else.
Chair?
Yeah, and also, I spoke with the jail captain this morning, and quite, I don't know, it's interesting to me, but most of the jails in New York, their jail population is down, or at a minimum 3 to 5% up. Warren County is up 53 to 54% over the last year. And nobody can give me an answer why. Maybe everything's making more arrests, I guess. Maybe that could be good, that could be bad, but and that's not the trend across New York State. And what that's going to affect our revenues. As you remember, we projected last year, we brought the revenues down because we didn't want to over-project. We brought it down from, I think, 300,000 to 200,000. We wanted to be very conservative. It's a good thing we did because we're at 6 months of the year and we've taken in about 100,000 already this year. They went out the door Friday, so that revenue stream is gone, and we're half the year, we've gotten half of our revenues, but, you know, I'm a little bit skeptical that we're going to be able to get any more revenues for the rest of the year. If we can get control of our jail population, and I spoke with the district attorney's office to try to move the cases along a little quicker, and weekenders are problematic for us, we're working together with them to do this. We may be able to get them back. I'll call the U.S. Marshals in the Northern District to see if we can get them back in here. But right now, they're out, so people should be aware of it. It could be problematic in the future.
What's our daily rate from the U.S. Marshals, and how's that differ from if we had to send somebody to Washington County?
Well, it's probably a little more, but you know, I wanted to do that, but we can't do that by rule. The Corrections Commission will not allow us to do it. In other words, I think we're in the vicinity of something like $110 a day for federal inmates that we get a revenue. If we send somebody out to, say, Washington County or Saratoga County, it could cost us anywhere from $80 to $95 a day. So, you know, we'd make a little bit more money, but the Corrections Commission do not allow you to do that. They tell you, if your boarders out, take care of your own, and you start making revenues. They won't let you do it.
Okay.
And if it helps put things in perspective, we have 186 beds, and we had 176 beds full this weekend. The only open beds were in the female dorm, or pod. Obviously, you can't put males in there.
Supervisor Wild, Supervisor Bramer, then Supervisor McDivitt.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Sean, and maybe it's with Jason, but I'm wondering the next time we get together, next month, if this situation is persisting, you can give us an insight in terms of really what's going on in the county. And is it because of Jason's inability, due to lack of staff, to be able to move things forward quickly? Or is there something else going on in the county that is causing us some concern from an overall public safety issue that we need to kind of look at?
Yeah, you're right, Mike. I'd like to know. I don't know the answer to that right now, but there's got to be something there. We can certainly look into that, and I'll discuss it with other sheriffs, other district attorneys, and see if that's, in fact, part of the problem. I don't know.
To understand, maybe it's something we can address, maybe.
Yeah, but again, the
bigger
numbers,
picture.
to me, the numbers, it's just baffling. You get these reports all the time, and they usually stay the same. I don't know of any other localities where it's a tough one.
Good.
We'll look into that.
Thank you, Sheriff. Supervisor McKibben?
My question, Sheriff, probably piggybacks on what you just said, that, has Albany County or Saratoga County or Washington County, have they experienced a similar spike? I mean, 53% seems like a total aberration.
All the other counties. All the way down. Well, most of them are down. The ones that aren't down, they're only up 3 to 5%.
The number doesn't really seem to make sense.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Maybe the way he...
Under Sheriff, on the COs that, vacancies, how is this going to affect your overtime budget?
It's going to drive up our overtime.
Do you have cushion in there year to
You
date?
have to fill the slots. The one ray of light, if you will, is that the new civil service list is going to be accessible by us at the end of this month, so we'll be able to start moving forward with hiring people.
Good news. Good. Thank you. Good luck with that.
I did send I sent it to Kevin Garrity because he asked for it, but he wanted to know I can send it to the rest of the committee, but he wanted to know over the last year, the reasons for why some of the COs are going, and there was a number that went to the state, some that were not performing, and were dismissed, and there were some other reasons. But I have a copy of that at the rest of this committee, if I could. I'll ask Kevin if he still has it, or I'll get that to this house, send it to the committee.
Thank you. Administrator Ryan?
When the new list is available, what would be the time frame for getting a new academy class in and through and into the jail, and how many would you look to do? How many COs?
Well, we'd look to hire all of them. We just graduated an academy, a week and a half, 2
We
weeks
did our
ago.
own academy because it's easier if we do it here.
Uh-huh.
We won't have to travel, we did it ourselves. But understand, with corrections, you don't need to send them to an academy right away. So in other words, if we need 6 people to hire, we can hire them and start them working right away and training them without going through the academy. We have, I think it's a year period to get them through the academy, so we can at least use them now before we have to send them off to the academy. And the goal for us is to do the academy here again because it's beneficial to us, have our people do it right here.
Right.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Under Sheriff Fleming. No objection, we'll adjourn criminal justice public safety. Okay. Motion by Bramer, second by Simpson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.